This episode is brought to you by MeUndies. Underwear drawers are like the Wild West. You never know what you're going to pull out or what shape it's in. So upgrade your collection with the buttery soft comfort of MeUndies. MeUndies' signature fabric is as soft as a warm hug from your favorite sweater. Plus, it's breathable and oh so comfy, making it ideal for all-day wear. Get 20% off your first order, plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/Spotify with code SPOTIFY. That's MeUndies.com/Spotify, code SPOTIFY.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
The wrongs we must right. The fights we must win. The future we must secure together for our nation. This is what's in front of us. This determines what's next for all of us. We are Marines. We were made for this.
Jewelry isn't a gift you give just once. It's a way to remind your loved one of a beautiful moment every time they see it. Blue Nile can help you find the gift that says how you feel and says it beautifully, with expert guidance and a wide assortment of jewelry of the highest quality at the best price. Go to BlueNile.com and experience the convenience of shopping Blue Nile, the original online jeweler since 1999. That's BlueNile.com to find the perfect jewelry gift for any occasion. BlueNile.com.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to what's going to be a fun episode 694 of the Duke Basketball Roundup. I am Jason Evans, joined by my buddy Donald Wine. It is Sunday morning around 9:30 a.m. after the Blue Devils just put a beat down, spanked Stanford, turned the wood into stuck them in a wood chipper.
Yeah. We're popping bottles at the Century Club. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's right. It was popping bottles. I like that. That is very true, sir. We are here to recap this game. Donald, I just want to, if I can, do a couple, as I like to do a couple general comments before we get to all the headlines and everything else. I want to start with this. Duke scores over 100 points in regulation in an ACC game for the first time since December of 2017 against Florida State. I want folks to remember, this is just a good, I like to go down history lane every now and then. All right, that game against Florida State, December of 2017, Marvin Bagley had 32 points and 21 rebounds on 13 of 17 shooting. I think folks, his pro career obviously has not gone as anyone thought it would, but folks forget how damn good Marvin Bagley was, 32 and 21 in that game. So that was the last time the Duke scored more than 100 points against an ACC team in regulation. There was like an overtime. I think we had an overtime game with Wake a few years ago where we did it. Overtime doesn't count. We're talking regulation here where Duke gets 106. The last time we scored 106 was January of 2017. We beat Georgia Tech 110-57.
That one was fun too.
Oh my God. That is a massive beatdown. Amazing stat out that game. No one scored 20 points. Jason Tatum had 19. We had we had 7 guys in double figures in that game. I mean, come on.
It's kind of easy to get to 100 when you have so many people scoring 10. Like, just do the math. Like, once you get to 7, that's 70 points minimum.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a yeah, that was just an outrageous one. Harry Giles had double points in that guy. It's like everybody. By the way, I looked at that roster. I looked down that roster. I think there are 8 guys on that roster who went on to make money in the NBA. Jack White, Marquise Bolden, and then all the starters except for Matt Jones.
I
Love you,
believe I
Matt.
was at this game, the Georgia Tech game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I remember it was this one of and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think this might have been I was at the first game that Harry Giles appeared in. Because remember he was out for like the first, what was it, month and a half.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so the first one was in Cameron. It was his first, or I should say his first game in Cameron. And he came off, and I think that game was it was one of those games. It was a blowout. It might have been this one. It might have been another game, but I know it was around this time of the season that he made his debut. But I digress.
No, you're largely correct. I've gone and looked it up. He made his debut on December 19th against Tennessee State. He barely played against Tennessee State
That's
in
it. Yep,
Elon.
that's the game.
Yeah, and then his coming out party was very much that Georgia Tech game
Hmm.
on January 4th, where he gets 10 points in 17 minutes. Yeah, yeah. Good memory, Donald. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed,
Thank you.
sir. Yeah. But as we continue, as we waft our memories back toward the game that just happened, I just wanted to note, I love the way this Blue Devil team responded to the loss to Clemson. That we had a week now where we won 2 games by combined 57 points. Now, look, I want to acknowledge that Cal and Stanford are not the quality of Clemson, but for Duke to respond to that Clemson loss the way we have, to really blow 2 ACC teams, just blow the doors off. And by the way, if you're wondering, if it feels like we're beating the brakes off of team more than usual, we are. This game was the 7th time this season that Duke has beaten an ACC team by 25 plus points. That is tied for the most in ACC history. I would like to say good luck to Virginia, Miami, Florida State, Wake, and UNC to stop us from getting the record. My bet is at least one of those games will be a 25 plus point victory for the Blue Devils, and we will set a record for the most 25 plus point wins in a season in ACC history. I haven't looked and checked. My bet is the 1999 team is the team that has the record.
Probably. And also, Jason, again, if we're just doing general overthoughts, like I was watching this game and kind of like the Cal game, there was times where I was like, this game feels like it's dragging for a game that's scoring so many points. And I look up and I go, oh, we have 70 with 50, with like 12 minutes left.
Yeah.
We are getting like if we take our foot off the gas, like, and we score, I mean, we scored 70 points in 30 minutes. Like the law of averages says we should score 30 points in 10 minutes just based on our pace right now. And sure enough, we scored 36. So I this game was one where a lot of guys got some playing time as a result.
Yeah.
And I will say there was no Spencer Hubbard in this game, but I feel like that's okay in the grand scheme of who ended up getting some considerable minutes, right? The Neil Begovic and Cam Sheffield and Darren Harris, like getting those guys active, I thought was pretty cool. And as we'll talk about, they even provided some production in the final.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, in a very big way. All right, let's now get to the headlines. Get back on course. It's my fault.
You did this.
You did. Let's get back on course. We had a ton of headlines. It's sort of funny. We beat Cal fairly convincingly, and like everyone was like, uninspired. People were not uninspired by this game.
Well, I think it's because of the time, right? Cal
Yeah.
was a 9 o'clock game that started as I mentioned, started at like 9:20, ended at 11:30. People just went to bed. This game, 4 o'clock game on ABC, national TV, sandwiched between Four Nations hockey. So it was a lot of lead in, a big build up. Congrats to the USA team for being Canada last night.
Wait. By the way, really quick,
yeah.
hold on. I think it's hysterical that they dropped the opening puck and US and Canada just started fighting.
Oh, that happens, Jason. This is a big rivalry. USA Canada, we needed that one. And now they have to fight to get to the final, whereas the US can kind of coast on Tuesday. So, but at the same time, you have that lead in, and the fact that we were on Prime ABC, kind of sandwiched in between their national lineup on a Saturday. A lot of people watched it. A lot of people were obviously put in a great performance. So that's going to encourage a lot of people to write in.
All right, so let's get to the headlines. I'll start with, oh God, I've got so many. I've got to pare some of these down a little bit. I'll start with Mark Esselstein. Mark gave us Red Hot Devils turn Stanford's tree into kindling. I like that one.
I have Abby Reeves, who also went along the. There's a lot of tree references, but this one was
Yeah,
good. She goes, Timber. Duke fires on all cylinders as Man and Co. Pulp Stanford.
I like that. More on the tree theme. Duke Fox, bench belittles big tree. Neil nails coffin on Cardinal. I want to mention Neil Begovich gets his first bucket as a Blue Devil,
In a
and it
big
was
way.
against, huh? Yeah, and it's right, it's a dunk, and it's against his old team, the Stanford Cardinal. Folks may not recall that Neil is a transfer from Stanford, just like Jalen. He's the anti Jalen Blake to some extent.
Yeah. Scott Sauer, I liked his, and he wrote, Alley oops, they did it again. Duke schools Stanford with repeated lobs to Malawatch, which we'll talk about, I'm sure.
I got a limerick. I've decided I just love the limericks. Jared Strauss, and Jared went the extra mile. He gave us two stanzas of his limerick. Get ready for it. An ode to our dear Jalen Blakes. Agent Chaos does whatever it takes. All hustle and we still cheer for thee. But you transferred and, well, them's the breaks. Now, when we watch basketball games, the opposing lead guard, who tames? For defense and hustle and extraordinary muscle, dear Jalen, have you met Sion James? Damn, that's some good stuff from Jared Strauss. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jared.
I have a couple of more headlines, very quick ones. One was Josh Dill. It was Christmas yesterday in Cameron with all the trees, right? And so he kind of borrowed from the Christmas theme and goes, Mala rocking around the cardinal tree, which is very simple but beautiful in my mind. And then finally, Jason Byer, beer buyer, please. Excuse me, please email us because I think we've said both pronunciations on the show and we want to get it right.
I
But
think it's
we're gonna go
beer.
with
It's beer.
Jason Beer. Okay, we'll go with Jason Beer. And he goes, Stanford should stick to academics. Devils send the Cardinal back to the library, but they can't check out a win.
Very nicely done. Very nicely done. A lot of good headlines, and I apologize to all the folks that we didn't get to read them. Just too much for one show. Let's get to the good. Donald, I'm going to start with shot selection. I don't think I saw Duke take a bad shot all game. As a result of that, we hit, here's the number, 74.3% of our 2-point shots. 74% of our twos. Are you kidding me? We assisted on 57.5% of our baskets, almost 60% assist rate. You and I talked in the preview that Stanford's a team that usually prevents teams from getting a high assist rate. They did not do that against Duke. We just kept moving the ball, we got wide open threes, and we buried them 14 to 29 on threes for 48%. There was just gorgeous passing and smart shot selection on display all game long. Early in the game, there was a play where Malik Brown got the ball at the high post and found Tyrese Proctor cutting to the basket. It was a gorgeous pass, a really nice finish. Duke ends the first half with 11 assists and 1 turnover in the first half. 11 assists and 11 to 1 assist to turnover ratio. They're like breaking the computers the way they're playing. We just had 5 turnovers in this game. Our starters, the 5 starters who played the majority of the minutes, combined for 2 total turnovers. 2 turnovers by our 5 starters. I just thought that the offensive execution, the shot selection, the decision making was sublime.
I tongue in cheek will offer one part of the game where we did have, I thought, a bad decision, and that was Cam Sheffield not deciding to shoot the basketball. You're on the court, man. Get in there and take a shot. There was a point where he was a little too unselfish. There was a point where I think all the bench was like, shoot it. But that's the only one, again, tongue in cheek. The fact that he got on and got some run is very, very cool. Jason, I want to kind of piggyback off of the shooting with the fact that one thing that we have seen a trend over the last few games, we have gotten rid of that trend, and that is the assist rate. The assist rate was back up towards our normal, closer to 60%. It was at 57.5, 23 assists on 40 made baskets. 40 made baskets, by the way. That's a lot of baskets.
That's a lot.
We've had games where the other team did not attempt 40 shots. We made 40 baskets. So that's really good. But I think like you said, the passing was there. We passed up some shots for another one, and everyone felt like they were trying to get each other involved. You know, when you look at the stat line, you see three guys really that kind of have the bulk of the points, but it felt like everybody got their hands in making other people look good, right? Sion James had 6 assists. Flag had 6 assists. Proctor had 4 assists. Khan had 2 assists. So you had guys that were just kind of making sure they were distributing and also getting their points because it just, hey, you feed me like on the next play. Okay, my time to eat. Cool. They all had a great, great game plan. And I think to combat the fact that Stanford normally does not allow teams to pass the ball on them, they did a great job at finding those open guys. And of course, it doesn't really mean anything if you don't knock down the shots.
Yeah, let's turn to the other side of the ball for a moment. The defense. I thought Duke was just in Stanford's face the whole game. We talk about slow starts and things like that on this podcast a good bit. You can't get off to a slow start if the other team is having so much trouble scoring. They at times in the first, I don't know, 5-10 minutes or so of this game, it felt like Stanford could barely get any shot, let alone a good one. And for a while, it just sort of turned into the Maxime Reynaud show, not in terms of him playing great, but in terms of like he was the only guy who was shooting because no one else could even get like our 7-1 guy who's willing to take 28 footers. That's the only guy who can get off a shot. No one else can on the team can even score. And I wanted to point out, speaking of Reynaud, Duke was doing some really advanced switching and hedging on him to not give him good shots. They were using a third defender a lot of the time. So like, you get in a pick and roll kind of situation or a pick and pop situation with Reynaud where he's setting a screen or someone else is setting a screen for him. And those are situations that Stanford is great at picking apart. If Reynaud rolls on the switch, he's going to have a big advantage size-wise probably over the smaller guy. If he pops on the switch, it's tough to stay with him because he's so big and he gets off that shot reasonably quickly from three. Duke had a solution. Duke was bringing a third defender, not all the way over. I'm not saying that they were like triple teaming him or something like that, but they were, like the Stanford offensive guy who was clearing out. Duke was sending a third defender to like be in the general vicinity of Reynaud. And as a result, he had trouble getting like in the post and getting open because we were able to front him easily. And that third defender was, creating spacing problems for Reynaud and his teammates. And I want to credit Reynaud for getting, I think he had 19 points in the game. Great for him to have gotten that many. By the way, he didn't score for the final 19 minutes of the game. Like in the second half, he did nothing. Now, part of that was toward the end, they took him out. But part of it was also Duke just shut him down. And I just thought our defense on him and everything Stanford was doing was so sophisticated and so well planned. And these guys communicate, like it required advanced communication. And when I talk about the play of the game, which begins with a Cooper Flag steal on Max Reynaud. It's everyone's play of the game. Not a surprise that's going to be my play of the game. But when I talk about that play, I'm going to talk about the way Cooper Flag left his man to create problems for Max Reynaud, and Duke did that again and again and again in this contest. If you are a team that has one who has a great player, it looks like Duke has really figured out ways to make that great player a lot less great. And that is huge for this team moving forward.
I think the issue with Maxime Reynaud is this is a much different kind of success story here. Because, Jason, I don't know if you saw this, but Maxime Reynaud is 7'1", 245. And when you are 7'1", 245, and you are being frustrated by everybody on the opponent's team because they're tall enough to get in your face and frustrate your shot and make you have to shoot 28 footers. Remember, as a 7'1" guy, do you know how hard that is? I can tell you because I've been on teams where we've had guys that their best player was 7 feet tall and they're just sitting there like, what do you like? The frustration that was in Maxime Reynaud's eyes, even as he was making baskets, you could tell that he was in for a long day, and he could tell that he was in for an incredible just performance. And I think that's what contributed because you mentioned he had like 19 points. The first half, it felt like he was the only one scoring, right? There's a couple guys that were hitting threes, but like he was the offense for Stanford. And the fact that he had to work so hard to get those points is what makes this a success story. And I like the fact that, again, we were able to switch, but it's hard to do. Like when your best player is 6'8", 6'9", yeah, sure, you're going to switch and everyone's going to talk about switching. But when your best player is 7'1" and they are not 2 feet from the basket, they are starting everything 20 feet from the basket, 30 feet from the basket. Like most 7'1" guys can't do that. And the fact that he can just tells you how good he is. And unfortunately, he just entered the ACC in the wrong year. But I think at the same time, this defense saw something that allowed them to kind of corral him into the positions that they wanted him to be in to make him the most frustrated. And he's good enough to get out of some of those jams, but he was not good enough to carry Stanford while he did it.
Let's get to some individual players if we can. I'll start with Cooper Flagg. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, a 10-5-5 game, also a couple steals, and outrageous defense. Just outrageous defense. Looked like he was all over the floor at times. And by the way, on offense, how much did you love it? There was a play where Reynaud got switched on to Cooper Flagg, and you saw Coop be like, "Okay, you think there's a Player of the Year race here at the ACC? I'm going to show you."
You could feel that tension. Like they switched on, and everyone's like, "Oh, here we go," and then Cooper was like, "Oh, here we won't," and he just drove right past him.
Well, no, I was talking about the play. I love the play where Coop took him down into the lane, into the post, and then gave him a little bump with his shoulder, and took it gave him some space and took a very easy, like 5 or 6 footer. If you're an NBA scout in the stands and you're like, "Oh, I wonder how he'll, this kid's a little young and not fully filled out from a weight standpoint. I wonder how he'll do banging against an NBA sized opponent." Coop showed you that, I got no problem with that at all.
Jason, if you're an NBA scout and you have to ask that question, then you are not an NBA scout and you have not been watching basketball all year, because he answers that question every single game. This is just another classic case of someone going, "Why did I bring this pen and pencil? That man's the real deal. Go get him number one."
Yeah, exactly. I just thought he showed off every aspect of his game in a way that is truly special. By the way, he had 2 3-pointers like rattle out early in the game. He's like, I don't care. Yeah, it's like bad luck. They could have easily gone down. Ends up hitting 3 of 6 3-pointers anyway. Cooper was, we're at a loss for words at this point. I stammer because I can't come up with the adjectives to describe his game.
I mean, they were trying to compare him to every freshman that has ever been decent in ACC play in the last 20 years. And they just like, yeah, he's better than him. Yep, better than him. Yep, probably on par with him. There's not many guys that we've seen that can compare to that. And the great thing, Jason, is when we talked a couple of weeks ago about how you mentioned over a period of like 8 games, the MVP on KenPom's stats for every game was either Cooper Flagg or Con Knipple. And we kind of called them like, yo, you need, every Batman needs a Robin.
And it was more than 8. It was like 13 or something like that.
Right. But it's like every Batman needs a Robin to be at his best. Well, Robin for the last week and a half has been Tyrese Proctor.
Oh, yeah, my friend. Oh, yeah.
And Tyrese Proctor, 23 points, 5 for 8 from 3, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. And spoiler alert, Jason, we just talked about the 2 guys who were probably up for Player of the Week. It's just a matter of which one each of us wants to take. I'm just going to narrow down the race to those 2 right now. But at the same time, Tyrese Proctor was hitting some really easy shots. He was making it easy for himself, right? Getting in right positions. There were so many times where he'd get the ball off of a pass and he, kind of do a double take. Like, am I really this open? Are you sure about this? Okay, fine. I'll hit this 3. And he hits the 3. There was a couple times you mentioned that Cooper Flagg came down and he kind of had a couple rattle out. Next play, what did he do? He passed it off to Tyrese Proctor. Tyrese Proctor's like, don't worry, dude. This won't rattle out. And he hits 3s. So the idea that Tyrese Proctor is coming on in February gives me so much hope for March, right? We're starting to see him enter his stride at just the right time and starting to and even still continue to build up and get better and better every single game. The one thing that he was kind of sacrificing a couple weeks ago for the points was the assists. Now he has both, right? Now he's getting 4 assists along with his 20 points. So that means he's distributing the ball. That means he's shooting 3s. That means that every single time that the other team kind of hones in on Conkinipple and Cooper Flag and Man, Tyrese Proctor says, "You're gonna forget about me. I'm gonna punish you every single time." That's the Tyrese Proctor we've been needing all season. It's starting to continue to emerge in February.
I'll tell you the thing that I love about Tyrese. I mean, in addition to the fact that he's hitting his threes again at a ridiculous rate, I love Tyrese in attack mode.
Yeah.
This Duke team is so much better when he's doing more than just standing outside as a catch and shoot three-pointer guy. And by the way, he's a great catch and shoot three-pointer guy. Make no mistake. I'm not saying that that's a bad role to have. That's a hell of a role to have, and he's really good at it. But in this game, he was in attack mode, going downhill. He shot 4 out of 5 on his 2-point shots. He was probing the defense. You mentioned he got those 4 assists. And oh yeah, I mean, like everybody on this team, it's just stellar, outstanding defense. I noticed, even when he switched on to Maxime Reynaud, battling, pushing, making sure that, just because I'm on a switch on a big man, I'm not going to let that big man take advantage of me. I agree with you. The fact that Tyrese is stepping up his play at this time of the year is really, really special. I'll go back, recall his freshman year, and Tyrese got better month by month by month. And like March was his best. February and March were far and away his best months. And we really hoped that was going to happen last year, and it didn't really work out. He actually faded down the stretch pretty badly. Duke's loss to NC State was a really, really
both of them, right? That ACC tournament one and the Elite Eight. Like he, for lack of a better word, he disappeared. But it also felt like last year the usage rate that he had caught up with him, and that's what kind of he was being used a lot, right? It was Flip, maybe Roach, and then Tyrese Proctor. But the disparity between those three was very close. This year, it's Flag by a lot. Then maybe Khan. And then further down, way down the line is Tyrese Proctor. He feels more relaxed and he doesn't feel like he has the pressure to produce every single time. So he just goes out and produces.
Yeah, I love to see it from him. And I think a little bit older, a little more mature, a little better understanding. As you say, not as much of a load of having to bring the ball up the floor all the time. I think that's all contributing to hopefully having Tyrese not fade at all this year. And if he's playing great, it's going to be huge. As we continue to talk about the players, hey, Man, did you know you were playing a Player of the Year contender? Because you kind of battled Maxime Reynaud to a standstill. So Man has 17-6. Reynaud had 19-7. That's basically the same.
It's a draw.
It's a draw
the way I see it.
Yeah, Man played less minutes. Way more efficient, though, was Man. 8 of 9 on his 2-pointers. Just thunder slam after thunder slam as teammates looked for him. We talked, I know I've talked about it like a week or two ago, that it felt like Duke, they had a little stretch where they were looking for Man a lot, and then they sort of slowed down in looking for him. That is gone. That has gone away. We are again trying to find him. And I want to point out something about all the ridiculous slam dunks that Kamen Malawach gets. It's not that easy to do that. Like a lot of those, he is showing some really great body control in the air, grabbing the pass and redirecting it. Of course, it's not just that he is 7'1", 7'2", whatever he has gotten up to at this point with super long arms. It's that he has great leaping ability. They put that ball up there. Frankly, if Maxime Reynaud is guarding him, Reynaud's not able to go up and
he's not getting it
really, because Man is up there so much higher. Such a weapon. There are several times, and they aren't plays of the game. Tyrese Proctor had one where they ran a little, pick and roll right around the foul line or so as Tyrese was probing, and Tyrese ended up tossing it up one-handed to Man for a just sick, outrageous dunk. And I was like, if you're the defense, what are you? There isn't a way to stop that if you're the defense. I guess you've got to prevent Tyrese from getting there where Man's setting the screen, because the moment that screen is set, you're done. You're just done. Either Tyrese is getting a layup or Man's getting a dunk. And they're just playing that kind of pick and roll game with Man so effectively. God, it is. I'm eager to see Duke play Illinois next week. I don't want to look past Virginia. We're going to talk about Virginia. We're going to have a preview of that game, but I'm eager to see us play Illinois because I want to see a team that plays really good defense to see what they're able to do to stop some of the stuff that's been working lately.
Man is moving quicker. He's getting to a spot faster, and that allows him to react better to everything that he's doing. And if you noticed last night, you remember that play a few weeks back where it was one of those crucial plays, right? Where Coop kind of does a pick and roll, but it was Patrick Gongba. And he kind of rolls off and he goes to the rim, and right at the rim, he kind of tosses it to the right, where right next to him basically was Gongba. Gongba was able to catch it in one hand, and lay it in, right?
It was late in the game against NC State.
Very late in the game, right? It was one of those we called like our play of the game because of how it kind of kept us at arm's length against NC State and kind of stemmed that tide.
Yeah,
they did the same play yesterday, but it was man. Man did not lay it in. Man dunked it over somebody. But that again, that play is there because he was able to get to that spot quicker. He was able to turn around and kind of be like, "Oh, if you're going to throw this ball in the air, I can react to it. I'm ready." And Cooper Flag got an instinct, had a clear lane to the basket, but he's like, no, just let me just toss a little bit to the right. Man, it's all you. Go get it. The other play that you were talking about, that Tyrese Proctor play, I believe that was an and one as well, because someone was dumb enough to be underneath man when he jumped up and got it. And I'm like, yo, man, if you're an opponent and you see that in the air, you know what I'm doing? I'm vacating the paint, right? Just like everyone did around Cooper Flag for a couple games after he buried Diaz Graham. Everyone kind of just calmly moved out of the paint whenever they saw him coming. That is what you got to do now with man, because he's reacting so much better and his footwork's there, his timing is there, and these guys are finding him. And again, we're not asking him to do jump hooks and trick shots and even back to the basket type of Shaq moves. We're just telling him to grab the ball and throw it down hard. And he is doing that. And if he's going to get 17 points off of basically dunks, like that means that your team was just not ready to compete in the inside. And man is. So I like this, and I hope this continues to build as well.
All right, more players to talk about. Sion James was nearly perfect in this game. I'm just going to go ahead and say he was nearly perfect. He was 4 of 4 shooting, 7 of 8 on free throws, 6 assists, 1 turnover. Like they mentioned it over his past like half dozen or so games. He's got like a 4-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, or 5-to-1, 6-to-1, something.
Jason, let me quickly correct you. I because I've never seen a stat line like this. Sion James had 14 points on 3 field goal attempts. 1, 2, 3. He was 3 for 3 from the floor. One of those was a 3, and he had the rest of the line. But this is some JJ type of stat, right? Like the efficiency of getting 14 points off of just shooting the ball 3 times.
Oh, you're right. I said 4 for 4 because I saw 3 for 3 and then 1 for 1.
And well, you added
3-pointers, so I added that. You're right. That's just a 14 points on 3 shots. Come on. What are we even talking
And I was
about?
like, oh, he's really not active in this game. Oh, he has 14 points. Never mind. Let me back up. I'm good.
And I want to shout out Con Knipple, who didn't have a huge offensive game. But was it just me? Con was playing this whole game like it was a tie contest, a back and forth game, and that every single hustle play mattered. Diving all over the floor. I must have seen him like getting down after a loose ball like 4 times in this game. I loved the save he had with 8 minutes left. He took a 3, he missed it. He ran for his own rebound. The ball's going out of bounds, and he throws it off a Stanford player as he's going out of bounds. I think Duke was up by 30 at the time. Like no one would have faulted Con if he'd be like, oh, I missed. Oh well. No, he's like, that dude is giving you 110% every single second he's in the game. Don't tell him that this was a 30-point blowout. He thought we were playing Clemson all over again, and it was a back and forth game. I love the effort. He had several steals in this game. There's a reason that dude plays heavy minutes. Man, he gives you it all. I love it.
I believe there was a play where he dove on the floor twice in the span of 2 seconds. Like he dove on the floor, missed the ball was still loose. He got back up, dove again, and then finally was able to tie up the Stanford guy who like had one arm around it, and we got the ball. I like you. I love the effort. I love the fact that despite the fact that he's had a kind of a rough shooting week by his standards, that he's able to contribute in so many other ways, and I appreciate that he has kind of dialed it up a notch and got that energy, because we're going to need that We got a couple road games left. We got the game in the Garden. We need that on the road. We can bring a lot of other stuff, but sometimes the energy is left at home, and he's providing that energy even when he's not shooting well, because that's how gelled this team appears to be, right? That they're helping each other out. Hey man, you got a bad shooting night? Cool. I'll grab it. Go hard on the defense. I'll go hard on the intangibles. You guys carry us on the shooting. That's why you see this kind of shift between a few players and how they play every single game, because they're able to pick each other up if one of them is having a bad night.
As we continue with the players, we got a bunch of emails. I got a bunch of text messages. Everyone is excited about the play of Caleb Foster.
Yes.
Look, I want to be clear. Caleb didn't come in until like 6 minutes were left in this contest. And he's fallen way, way, way down in the rotation. And his confidence has got to be just shot. But if you ever wanted to get a confidence boost, I mean, those 6 minutes, he had an explosion. I love the play where he grabbed a rebound, just pushed the ball up the floor super fast, got a layup, and then they were inbounding the ball and he stole it and took a three. Now the three didn't go down; it rattled out. He later hit another three, and I'm glad, because Caleb's a great shooter and he has not seen enough threes go down this season. But great hustle play from him and great focus. 10 points in 6 minutes for CFOS. There are people who's like, oh, Duke's going to need. I don't know that Duke's going to need Caleb Foster. This team is super deep. We've got a lot of different weapons. But if we add Caleb Foster the way he can play, we are way better. There's no question about that. And it's just, I'm sure he was relieved. You can say thrilled, but I bet relieved is the better word for how he feels. And sometimes a guy sees the ball go in the way he did in this game, and it just opens everything up. The dude has NBA talent. There's no question about that. And it's been such a terrible struggle for him over the past month and a half or so, if not longer. That game was just, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing to see.
See, I disagree with you in the sense that I do think we need Caleb Foster, but I don't think we need him in the way that we needed Caleb Foster last year. We need Caleb Foster's confidence this year, and he had it yesterday. In the few minutes he was on the floor, he was able to make things work. And let me tell you, that is the definition of when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade, and then you add some whiskey, then maybe some iced tea, and you call that an alcoholic John Daly. Like that's what he did yesterday. Hey, I'm only going to get 6 minutes. I'm going to bust my butt in those 6 minutes. I'm going to take some of these shots. I'm going to regain my confidence. I'm going to work in my teammates. I'm going to play well on defense. And again, there is going to be times in the tournament where we're going to turn to Caleb Foster. It may not be for him to lead. It may just be for him to be confident in what he does. And so I really liked the fact that he came on and despite the fact that he had limited minutes, he was able to make the use of those. That's where the confidence building is going to come from. He's starting to enter this, world where he understands his new role, right? His new role is not his role is not to start. His role is not to get 30 minutes. His role is maybe come in a couple minutes every half and produce. And if he can do that with confidence, then it doesn't matter how many minutes he plays. It doesn't matter what he provides, because it's going to help the team. And I think all these guys, as we get towards March, those roles are ever more pronounced and they're ever more important to embrace. So I like the fact that he came on and did his thing. I was happy for him. And I hope, again, he can kind of bottle that and go, I like that feeling. So next time I check back in the game, I want that feeling again. So I need to work hard to go make sure I have it.
Last thing I got before we get done with the good is the deep bench. Those final few minutes. Usually the deep bench comes in, and it's just kind of the nature of where the game is at that point. It gets a little bit sloppier. That did not happen at all. Neil, Patrick, Darren, all those guys got in the scorebook. Cameron Sheffield didn't get there. He's the only guy on the team who played and didn't score. And they were reasonably efficient about what they were doing, in terms of scoring. I want to mention that Patrick Gongba, 4 rebounds in 6 minutes. I mean, I know he doesn't get a ton of time for this Duke team. When he does, he looks really good. I can't wait for next year for Patrick. I think that dude is going to be an offensive weapon. Last thing I had is even toward the very end, I thought this Duke team was playing elite basketball.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, the fact that Spencer Hubbard didn't play in this game is okay because we got a lot of Begovic, we got a lot of Cam Sheffield, we got a lot of Darren Harris, and we got a lot of Patrick Gongba. And those are the guys that I'm not saying that we're going to need Neil Begovic and Cam Sheffield there, but they work hard. And there's times where Spencer gets into the game before they do. And so it's good to get them there. Like I said, the only negative I had on Cam Sheffield is he had a chance to shoot the ball and he passed it up, which I'm kind of laughing at. But I'm like, yo, man, like you don't get that much time. If you want to take the shot, ain't nobody gonna be mad at you. Like, what are they gonna do? Put you back on the bench? Like, you're fine. But I think at the end of the day, especially again, Gongba kind of again continuing to get better as he gets more playing time. Darren Harris keeping him ready mentally. Because yes, he's all the way down the end of the bench, but stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. And if there's a lot of foul trouble in one game, then maybe you need Aaron Harris for a minute or two, right? Those are the things that you're not asking them to produce. You're not asking them to be the leaders. You're just asking them to be confident in what they do and know when they get on the court that they have an opportunity to play the way that got them there, right? And that's how these last few minutes were for me. And the fact that there was no drop off, that just tells you how much we destroyed Stanford in this game.
All right, coming up, we're going to take a quick break. And after that break, a huge challenge, a really difficult thing for Donald and me to come up with. We have to find something bad about this game.
I got one.
You got one? Good. All right, we'll see. I got maybe one and maybe a little tiny, maybe. We'll see. All right, stick with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
Children's Dimetapp knows the sick day struggle is real. But it doesn't have to be. When sickness strikes, Children's Dimetapp works safely and quickly to relieve cough and other cold symptoms. And your kiddos won't run from its yuck-free sweet grape flavor. Trusted by parents for over 50 years. Children's Dimetapp, your stress-less sick day solution. Use as directed.
I think you're on mute.
Workday starting to sound the same?
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
All right, Donald, we're back from the break. It's time for the bad. I almost could stop there. I got a little tiny nitpick. Stanford had a couple flurries where they grabbed a bunch of offensive rebounds and they got extra shots. By the end of the game, they had equaled us 13-13 on second chance points, which is just like shocking. Like in a 30+ point blowout like this, usually there's no statistical category where the team that got blown out can go, oh, we equaled them in that, maybe fouls or something, but like a positive statistical category that they go, yeah, we equaled them on second chance points. I do think it's worth noting one of the reasons Stanford equaled Duke on second chance points is because Duke hit 75% of their 2-point shots. So there weren't a lot of opportunities. But I did think, if I'm going to be completely honest, Stanford had some flurries on the offensive boards. That's what I got in the bad. What about you, my friend?
Yeah, so I have two nitpicks, and I do have one that I consider a bad.
Right. So, yeah, it's worth noting. I got a couple of things I'm going to mention here They are
Yeah.
they're nebulous kind of bads.
The nitpicky stuff, right? You mentioned the offensive rebounds. I said Stanford. They had 13 offensive rebounds. Okay, we can do better than that. That's the only, again, very nitpicky thing. And because of that, Stanford was able to hit a ton of threes for a team that doesn't normally hit that many. So I think, again, they got a couple second chance points there. Here's my actual bad. Had nothing to do with the play on the floor. Jalen Blake's, of course, he came back to Cameron, did not have a good game. Not what he envisioned.
I agree. I had this in the bad as well. I'm glad.
No. But it's not about Jalen Blake's.
Oh, okay.
It is in a way. But the fact that it basically early in the second half, he had not scored a point. He didn't score until very late in this game. During the broadcast, Corey Alexander was talking about Jalen Blake's moving from Duke to Stanford. And he said, well, Duke and John Shire are showing Jalen Blake's what he's missing out on. And maybe the fact that he probably should have stayed and been a part of what could be a national championship team. And I think that was really unfair to Jalen Blake's. Like, really unfair. Because, one, Jalen Blake's gave his all for Duke. He graduated. He is a Duke graduate. We've talked about it on the show. I'm not going to continue to belabor that point. But the fact is, at the end of last year, Jalen Blake's had graduated. He said, I want to go somewhere where I feel like I can get some playing time because I think I can make a team, very successful with my play. If I'm having an opportunity to compete for huge minutes. And John Shire's like, that is great. Obviously, that's not something that's going to happen here. But however we can help you get to that goal, we're with it. And he said, Stanford's a great place. I'm pretty sure that John Shire probably called Stanford, was like, hey, yo, take this kid, Jalen Blake's. He's going to make you very, very happy and very smart because he's a smart player. He does well by the team. He does well by the school. And he's going to be one that fans love. So for Corey Alexander to kind of go on and say, oh, well, he's missing out on this. He's not. He's not missing out on anything. He is making a world of memories in his new home. The fact that he was able to come back to Cameron and soak in the love that was given to him was a huge standing ovation for him in the pregame intros. That's what we wanted to see, Jason, and that's what we got. And I'm glad that he was able to get that moment, a moment that not a lot of players who return to Cameron after having played at Duke get. So for him to play at Duke and get that love shows you how much he's appreciated, shows you how much he was a part of this building block of this program. And yes, he may not be on this year's team, but the building blocks for this team were set last year, which were set the year before that, right? And the idea that he is not a part of this in a way is completely beside the point. But the fact that Corey Alexander would say that it's that we're showing him up, that is completely unfair to Duke. It's completely unfair to Jalen Blake's. And yeah, he had a bad game and a return to Cameron, but at the end of the day, he was where he was supposed to be. And it was great to see him, thrive in an environment that has been good to him, but also to be able to come and be celebrated in the place that he called home for 3 years by a fan base that absolutely loves him. So I want to point that out. I think we always like to do the extremes on these broadcasts. That was one that did need to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jalen Blake's was part of a ACC championship team at Duke. He was part of a team that went to the Final Four. And the notion that you would say, oh, he's missing out on something by playing big minutes at Stanford, it's absurd. I completely understand Jalen Blake's decision. I don't think Jalen Blake's has, for a moment, thought, oh, wow, I wish I was back at Duke. No. He did that for 3 years and did it great. And Corey Alexander is, by the way, Corey Alexander, yeah, dude, I think sometimes he isn't watching the game or something. He's just saying whatever random stuff pops in his head. There was a play in the first half. So Maxime Reynaud had he'd been getting a lot of threes. That's where he was mostly scoring. But he had a putback, an offensive rebound putback. I thought it was a really nice play by Reynaud. He got an offensive rebound and just immediately went back up with it, despite Man and Cooper both being right there trying to block the shot, and he got the bucket. And I'm not sure if it was the next play or maybe literally 30 seconds later, he hit a jump shot from about 10, 12 feet. And Corey Alexander says, hey, that's his first made basket inside of 3. And I was just like, Corey, are you even watching the game? Is there a spotter telling you who scores each basket or something? Because dude, he's so bad. Corey Alexander's he's got nothing to say. And he's mostly trying to make it about himself. He's constantly being like, hey, when I played against this guy or whatever, you're just like, shut up, man. He's terrible.
Can I flip this into a positive? Because obviously also on the broadcast was Dick Vitale. He finally was able to come back to Cameron.
Yes.
I think what a great moment was and you've been to a game at Cameron this year, right? Or no? Have you been to a game at Cameron this year?
Just exhibition. I haven't been to regular.
Okay. Oh, exhibition. Yeah. But this year, I've been to one, and this year, during every game, during one of the timeouts, Marcel Shire, who's John's wife, has a thing with Duke Children's Hospital where they go out and there's obviously some kid who's been fighting cancer, and some of them have beaten cancer in whatever previous week. And so they ring the bell, which signifies them finishing their chemo. They get to ring the bell in front of everybody in Cameron. Great moment when that happens every single time. And the fact that we have to have this is one thing, right? And we're fighting to end childhood cancer, which is why Duke has been the team has been such a big part of trying to raise awareness and research money. But they did it before the game for Dick Vitale, which I thought was really cool. Nice. A great gesture by Duke. And I think his granddaughter is at Duke right now. So it's really cool to see him back in Cameron. Like I said, this is what I grew up on. Some people may think he's, otherworldly, but like that man is a Detroit Mercy former head coach. He's a Detroit Piston former head coach. He's beloved everywhere he goes, and you could see why. And honestly, him being on the broadcast yesterday really elevated it a bit because the man is still smart. He still's got it, and he still knows ball. So to counteract the Curry Alexander, to flip it to positive, we still had Dick Vitale. It wasn't the long quips that we're used to back in the day. Very short quips, but the fact that he was bringing some of that knowledge to a broadcast that absolutely needed it was really cool.
All right, let's move on to the play of the game. I mentioned earlier, by the way, that I have 2 runner-ups, but the Proctor screen lob to Kamen Malawach with 9 minutes left, that just outrageous slam that I talked about earlier, that's a runner-up. I also had a first half player of the game runner-up. The play where Man blocked the shot with his armpit.
Was it his armpit or was it his torso? Like, was it his rib?
Yeah,
I think it might have been his rib.
He went up there. I think it was actually like his lower forearm, but he blocked the shot with his elbow, his armpit. Coop rushed up court, found Khan, and when the D reacted, Khan found a wide open Sion in the corner for a 3 that gave us a 14-point lead. I think that was the moment I was like, yeah, this is not going to be a contest. But both of those were play of the game contenders. But as we know, the play of the game is with 18 minutes left. Maxime Reynaud brings the ball up court, and he's signaling everyone clear out. He's like, I'm going to take this South Sudanese 7-footer to the hole. And he starts to go, but as Cooper's man goes to the opposite corner, Cooper stays. I talked about Duke's switching and sort of the advanced stuff they were doing. Now, it's worth noting that Cooper's guy, because he's gone all the way to the other side of the court, a pass to him would be super difficult. It would be slow developing. Duke would be able to adjust to it. So Coop is able to come double Maxime Reynaud. Reynaud, recognizing that he's in a double, is like, oh, I'm going to back out of this. And as he starts to dribble out of it, Cooper stole the ball by dribbling it right out of Reynaud's dribble. It was like Reynaud's dribbling, and suddenly Cooper's hand is dribbling. I love that. It was hysterical. Of course, they go down the floor. Cooper tosses it to Khan. Khan bobbles it almost for a moment, flips it over to Sion. Sion floats it in the air, and Dickie V is screaming, give it up, because he can see he can see what everyone can see is coming, which is that Cooper Flagg is going to finish with a nasty throwdown, and that is what happened. The ball never touched the floor. After Cooper dribbled it out of Reynaud's hand, it was just pass, slam. So a beautiful, beautiful fast break among 3 Blue Devils. And I wanted to note, poor Jalen Blakes. I feel so awful for Jalen. Jalen was the guy who had kind of got back on defense, was facing a 3-on-1 with Khan, Sion, and Cooper. And poor Jalen was like, he's spinning around the ball's just going bing, bing, bing. And he's like, wait, where is it now? And who, what? I'm just glad Jalen didn't get completely posterized by Cooper, because he was in a bad situation against 3 bad men going downhill it was easily the play of the game. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. Next.
I apologize. I should have let you get something in there. I'm sorry, my friend.
No, that was 10 out of 10. No notes. I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Let's get to the player of the week. That is all we got left on this episode. I'll let you go first, my friend.
This was tough, man.
It's not an easy one. I agree.
It's not an easy one.
Wait. Hold on. I'm gonna tell you right now. Whoever you pick, I'm not gonna pick the other one. I've already decided who I'm picking, so I'm interested in seeing who you pick.
Okay, and I'm hoping that we split this.
We sometimes do that. Like we'll have two nominees, and like you take one, I take the other one. We can kind of yeah. I've decided, so go for it.
You've decided. Okay, good. That means it's riding on me, and I'm gonna go barely with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg, 46 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, 5 steals, 11 for 11 from the line this week, 5 for 10 from 3, 15 for 27 from the floor. Provided a lot of scoring, like you said, a lot of defense, a lot of passing, just a lot of everything. And Jason, he had no fouls on Tuesday. He had no turnovers on Wednesday. He had no fouls on Wednesday. He had no turnovers on Saturday. I'm thoroughly impressed. And I'm sorry, Tyrese, you had an incredible week. I am praying that Jason will take you. Jason, will you take him?
As I said, I had decided in advance, and I had decided on Tyrese Proctor in advance because
Good.
I think the aggressiveness on offense of Tyrese Proctor, the fact that he took 14 two-point shots this week, and we've seen it it's been a couple weeks coming now because he took 18 two-point sorry. No, I'm wrong. That was threes I'm thinking of. No, 14 two-point shots this week. My bet is that's the most two-point field goals Tyrese has had in a week in his Duke basketball
split
career.
Evenly, right? 14 threes, 14 twos. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. The fact that he is becoming a more aggressive threat of penetrating the ball, of getting to the hole, of getting in the lane, is just a huge development for this Duke team. And by the way, he had 41 points and shot 8 of 14 on 3-pointers on the week. So, and like everybody plays ridiculous defense. I had decided in advance Tyrese Proctor was going to be my player of the week, but I'm thrilled that you took Coop because it was not an easy choice.
Yeah, this was not easy. Like you mentioned some of the stats: 41 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. To Cooper Flagg's 46 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, and 5 steals. Y'all be the judge.
Yeah,
because we can't.
Yeah, and Tyrese had 1 turnover. This.
1 turnover to 0. It's just incredible weeks by both of them.
Exactly. Well, I hope we have this difficult decision facing us many more times.
Every game from here out, guys.
There you go. All right. So we're going to call it quits on this episode of the DBR podcast. Check your feed. Probably right around the corner. We're going to have a preview of the Virginia game. Duke goes Saturday, Monday. We're playing Virginia Monday night. I'm going to tell you deep tease right now. It's easy to think Virginia sucks. Guess what? Lately, they've been really good. We're going to explain how and why on the next episode of the DBR podcast. Until then, that's Donald. I'm Jason. Duke Band, play us out. Take us home.